Hello there, and welcome to this most recent episode of the Rockstar Manifestors podcast. This particular episode is for my Lunar Lessons series or segment, however you choose to look at it, or I don't know which one's more appropriate. But the Lunar Lessons are the episodes where I actually share my personal lessons that I have learned through the lunar cycle or just working with the lunar phases that in the way that I do. And right off the bat, before I dive into kind of just checking back in, the biggest takeaway that I can see overall, not specifically related or connected to any one particular lunar cycle, is actually letting go of the expectation of what this episode needs to look like. I realized that I have not been super consistent with it. I was, and then I do a couple episodes, and then I taper off for a while. And in noticing that, I was well aware of that. And what I did is investigate and look at why it wasn't easily coming. Like I kept putting it off, or I thought, oh, well, I missed the time frame, so it's too late. And those were my own resistances. Those were my own excuses, if you will. And what I realized they were coming from is my expectation that this episode was, or these episodes, this segment of Lunar Lessons had to be really like in depth and deep and like significant, like large lunar lessons. But the thing is, a lot of the time, that's not how we learn lessons. There are times that happens that way, where maybe, whatever, the universe, our parents, whatever, we just don't get a lesson. And so it gets to the point where it's like, look, this is important, right? But for the most part, we learn in bits and pieces along the way, or we get reminders of lessons. And it's not this big earth-shattering, life-changing explosion of a lesson. And I haven't really dug into why I had that belief or that expectation, but that doesn't really matter. I've identified it. And so now I'm like, okay, letting go of the expectation of what this segment or my lunar lessons are, because the thing is, they are what they are for me. That having an expectation of what lessons I'm going to learn, or I think I'm going to learn, or which ones are valuable enough or significant enough for me to share with you, is limiting what I can share. And it's limiting. It's almost like putting an like I know what lessons I need to learn. And sometimes I might, and a lot of times I probably don't. So this is me in real time recording this. It's what I was going to say, January. It is not January. It is May 5th on the day that I'm recording this. And my desire is to record the Lunar Lessons episode sometime in the time frame of the third quarter moon to the next new moon. And so we have in real time our next new moon, which will be the new moon in Taurus on Tuesday. So I'm jumping back in. I am sticking with that desire now that I have this realization and I have let go, and probably will have to continue to remind myself to let go of the expectation of what these episodes look like, and simply share, however big or however small, or maybe even however repetitive, if I'm being stubborn and don't learn a lesson right away, or fall off of that, whatever the lesson taught me, because that's my journey. And that's really what the intention of these episodes is. When I checked back in with myself, it's like, why do I want to do these Lunar Lessons episode? The first one was actually to keep myself accountable and to document also the progress and the ebbs and flows of my journey in working with the lunar cycle and becoming the next best version of myself and up leveling. And so that there's really no need for me to have an expectation of what that looks like, because I don't know what it looks like. So that feels like a big relief. And so that's a big kind of general lesson that I wanted to share with you. And so I am not going to make this super long, because I am going to cover, just touch on the key points of the Aquarius, Pisces, and Aries new moon lunar cycles, and then that will bring us to date, current. And so, like I said, I am going to just do bullet point type things and just explain a little bit, maybe if it feels like it needs it, and not. And another intention that I had in creating these episodes is to share my journey. So it's really leaning into those, keeping myself accountable, being honest, and sharing my journey and my pitfalls and my struggles, because I don't have it all figured out. And I think that ties into my expectation. Like, oh, well, you're teaching people, you're coaching people, you're helping people with this. So this, I don't know, ego, I don't know, story created that I have to have it all figured out. And the truth is I don't. I'm still figuring it out along the way, and sharing that with you as well keeps me accountable and keeps me honest. And thirdly was to maybe inspire you to keep track of your lunar lessons and kind of just keep either a bullet point or just do a reflection before the next new moon, or anytime, really anytime. There's no wrong time to reflect on that. And so hopefully if that inspires you or you start doing it, let me know. And just know going in that working with the moon is a cycle. It's cyclical. There's a rhythm, there's a flow that we follow. And working with the moon and the lunar cycle and the phases is not about being perfect. It's not about, oh, every single new moon setting an intention and every first quarter moon taking action. It's realizing when you feel out of rhythm, when you feel out of flow, off balance, and it's like, okay, well, why? Why might this be? What haven't I done? And checking in with what cycle and what phase the moon is in, what sign, what zodiac sign, and just realizing that there is a cyclical flow, and it is a rhythm that we can follow and jump into at any time, especially when we catch ourselves out of rhythm, but knowing that it's there. And sometimes life makes it easy and sometimes life makes it challenging, and it's up to us. It's up to you and it's up to me to intentionally get back or intentionally start and take the steps that lead to the changes that we desire in making in our lives. So very quick, it was actually very quickly written too for the Aquarius new moon. I actually looked through my lunar planner here, and I did pull some cards for that lunar cycle, but I never got to journaling them. So I never established a formal intention for that Aquarius lunar cycle. And that was the Aquarius new moon was February 9th of this year. But I did pull for the card for the intention. I did pull the card of the Four of Cups. And that speaks to me as to focusing on what is possible, as opposed to mistakes I've made or what hasn't worked. And so this opportunity, right? There will be challenges, and knowing that there will be, it's like there's no need to really focus on them. It's just experience them and look and see what is possible from those challenges, what the lesson is from those challenges that will help me move forward by focusing on what is possible. So even though I didn't formally set an intention with that, I would say it's possibility and what is possible. And I did write down, though, in my lessons, realizing that I changed my word of the year. My word of the year that I had started working with back like in December, January was capable, in the sense of I am capable of making change. I am capable of achieving the goals that I set, or I am capable of doing the work that will get me there. And what I realized is capable still had an energy of making it happen. Like I had to control what was happening, and I had to control the timeline. Like, I am capable of making this happen fast, so it really still had for me the energy of hustling and making things happen, and just various things have been pointing out to me that that's not the way to do it. That's what I default to. And so capable still had like this go, 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 make it happen type of energy. And so I switched that and to trusting. And I think that was inspired by that card, the Four of Cups. Also trusting in what is possible, even though I don't exactly know what it looks like. So trusting and allowing instead of making it happen, or being in that go, 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 hustle energy. And that the action steps that I take will actually lead to the results, right? It's not so much about me controlling the results. It's about simply getting and allowing results by taking action and trusting that those actions will give me the right information, either changes to make, or the next step to take, or that something isn't working, and trusting the process and the unfolding of the events. And another one that I wrote for that Aquarius one is actually being visible to my personal circles. And I realized that it's very easy for me to get here, be on the podcast, do my weekly lives on my business page. And I was in a training with a coach during that time, or shortly before. And in December was when the training was, and it kind of clicked at this time. What she said, what the person that was teaching is like, you're in business, so you need to be visible as you, as a business owner, as the entrepreneur that you are and that you are becoming. And at this, because I wrote it down during the Aquarius lunar cycle, the Aquarius new moon, is like being visible to my personal circles is something I really had not stepped into. It was very easy for me to go live on my business page and do the podcast like I'm doing here and put videos on YouTube, because that was out to the public, but I really didn't hadn't been sharing or even making known to my personal circles, and not my immediate family, because of course they know what I'm doing, but just like my personal circles, friends and former people that I worked with that I didn't really share this with. So what I did in response to that was to make my profiles, my Facebook profile, my Instagram profile, not only my business ones, but my personal ones, public, because tying it back to what the coach or the trainer I was taking that class from said is like, when someone comes across you, when someone finds you, or in whatever way that they do, right? In any of the ways that I'm out there, what they're going to do is go look you up. And I said, well, of course, that's what I do. If I find someone, it's like, do I resonate with them? Or do I like their personality? Do I like their teaching style? Am I interested in similar things, whatever? And I realized I was holding back from that in not being as visible to the people I already know. So I realized it was easier to be visible to people that simply came across me, as opposed to people that I already know. And that was hindering me from fully stepping into this identity and reality of living life as a full-time entrepreneur. So that was something that I jotted down then, and I did take an action on, and it led to other things, but that was Aquarius. Then came the new moon in Pisces, and so that was going to be, or that is the last sign of the zodiac calendar. And again, I didn't even pull cards for that one. I did not set a formal intention with the Pisces new moon, but I do still jot down in my reflections or things that I notice through my journaling, or just insights and messages that I get along the way. I still jot down my lessons or insights and reflections. So what I wrote down for the Pisces lessons and reflections is that, which is, let me give you the time frame. That is from March 10th was the Pisces new moon. And so that went through April 7th. And then the next new moon was April 8th, which was the Aries new moon. So for that, I wrote down that this is, in this time of year, this is wrapping up the waning half of my personal year and what is falling away or being released. And what I mean when I say it's wrapping up the waning half of my personal year, I think I've shared this on a podcast. I know I've shared about it on one of the Manifesting Me episodes, is that when I was born, I'm an Aries, so my birthday is April 17th. I've come to look at that as my personal new year. That's when my story started. That's when I was born, and my story as a human on this earth started. And so I also applied the lunar cycle to that. And that's my new moon, right? And so when I was born, that's my new year. That's like the new moon phase of my year, the lunar calendar year. And so from April to October is the waxing half of my personal lunar cycle, where it's taking action, where it's doing things, where it's getting the insights from the actions I take. And then from October back to April is the waning half of my lunar year. And those are like, what lessons have I learned? Where can I express gratitude for what I have achieved so far? What is falling away, or what feels like it needs to fall away in this waning half of the year? And it's interesting how things, even if I'm not consciously aware of it, they do tend to fall kind of in that cycle. Like, what new things are coming up? What new things am I trying? And what lessons have I learned and fallen away? So that's why I look at that. I look at the whole year as a lunar cycle. And I do have podcast episodes about that as well. Just look up the Lunar Year series and you'll learn a little bit more about that. And that's an ongoing series or segment within the podcast as well. And so what needs to be released, and what I jotted down is the need to know how or when things will happen, and the steps it will take, and what it will look like. And this is a very definite recurring theme for me. It's like needing to know or wanting to know all of the steps. What are the exact number of steps it will take me to get there? What is the time frame? What will this look like for me? And so really leaning into the not knowing and being okay with the not knowing, and realizing that the not knowing is good, because that means I am creating my own personal path, my own journey. And a saying, I think I heard it, was it in a book? It was in an audio book that I learned, that I was listening to. And this really resonated with that lesson, is like, if we know what to expect, if we know what is coming or what the next step is, then we're following someone else's blueprint, right? Of the experience, of the journey, of the steps that it will take. But if we don't know what the next step is, we don't know how it will look, or we don't know exactly, what this journey looks like, then that's actually a sign that we are creating our own path. We are making our own journey. And so as uncertain as it feels, it's actually a good place to be. And I also had the realization that there are times where following someone else's blueprint is helpful and beneficial, but always following someone else's blueprint means I'm always recreating someone else's journey. or trying to recreate someone else's experiences, someone else's results. So sometimes it is helpful to have a step-by-step to follow. And then also knowing that when we get to that unknown, or it just feels like we're going through the motions, maybe it's time to step back and start forging our own path, or start going down our own path. And that the not knowing is a fabulous, even though it feels scary, it's a fabulous place to be, because that's when we're genuinely now creating our own journey, our own path. So that was that for Pisces. And then that brings us to the Aries new moon lunar cycle, which we are wrapping up right now. We'll have the Taurus new moon in a couple of days. So I did pull some cards for the Aries new moon. There was also an eclipse that happened. And so the card that I pulled for the intention, what intention should I focus on this lunar cycle, is the Seven of Cups. And I'll do other episodes where I go into the cards. I just don't really want to make these episodes super long. So what I jotted down is everything you can imagine is real. And that was like, that really tied into that not knowing, like being in that place of not knowing means that anything I can imagine is real. I can make it real. It can happen. It can become a reality. And this is what I wrote, what you can imagine is what you can manifest. And so with that being the card, like the message or the insight from the card, I now work with setting intentions as feelings. How do I want to feel? And then what actions can I take to feel that way, or to move me in the direction of that feeling? And so let me read it so it all makes sense. It says, I put in quotes as for the message from the card, everything you can imagine is real. And then I wrote, what I can imagine is what I can manifest. What does that feel like? And what I wrote is audacious. It feels audacious and expansive that whatever I can imagine is real, can be real. I can make a reality. And so then I also wrote, so audacious, and I had a big arrow that says, fuck it, here I go. And so I'm really stepping into that, right? It's like, yeah, anything I want is possible. Other people do not need to understand it. Other people don't need to get it. Other people don't even need to want it, because it's up to me. So that really embodied that energy of anything I can imagine is real, is possible. And I don't need to know how I'm going to get there. Just knowing that if I have this dream or this wish or this idea, it's real. It's real for me. And that's who it needs to be real for, me. So fuck it. Here I go. I'm going to go do it. And that really also speaks to the identity of me as an entrepreneur. And Aries is all about, what do I want to, who do I want to be? What experiences do I want to have? What do I want life to look like? Aries is all about us, the individual, because it's the first sign of the zodiac. And so that was what I got for the intention, just like audacious. That feels audacious, and F it, here I go. And on the very first day of the Aries new moon, we had this the eclipse. On the very first day of the lunar cycle, I had this aha moment. It says on the very first day of Aries season, so I take that back. It was when the sun moved into Aries. So on the very first day of Aries season, leading up to the Aries new moon, my trying to read what I wrote very fast. Oh, on the very first day of Aries season, my offering, how I'm going to share my program, was just given to me. Like, in the sense, like I was having a conversation with a friend, and they shared this idea of how this program can be set up. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So letting go of, letting go of what needing to know the steps, needing to know how long it was going to take, needing to know how it was going to happen, which I talked about a few minutes ago, letting go of that and realizing I was instantly delivered, right? I was immediately or shortly delivered how my program is going to be laid out, what my offering is. And I had spent so much time trying to figure it out. And what is it supposed to look like? And here, the universe, as soon as I let go and said, I don't know, but I'm just going to keep going, it was delivered to me. And now it was just like, now I know what my program looks like. And now I know how I'm going to offer it. And I know how it's going to exist in the world. And it was through a conversation with a friend. And then I wrote down this process, like this flow of trust, belief, allowing, and receiving. It's like, that's what I got. It's like, oh, I trust that what I want is possible. I believe it's possible. I allow the information to come to me because my belief in that my belief in its possibility inspires me to take action, inspires me to keep moving. And so then I allow the information to come and I receive it. I receive it in whatever way it is delivered to me or presented to me, or I come across it. And so with that, Aries energy of identity and what do I want my life to look like? What do I want to experience? I'm realizing because I am an Aries, following the fun, following what feels good, knowing that I will have hard parts, but how can I incorporate or infuse a little bit of fun into the boring or challenging or stuff I don't really feel like doing, but I know needs to be done in order to move me forward. So this audacious belief that I can infuse fun and follow the fun and incorporate fun to get these insights and to keep me inspired into moving forward and taking action. And that action will lead to results, and those results will motivate me to keep going, right? A lot of times, and I fall in this bucket too, we wait for the motivation to take action. It's like the motivation is the result of taking action, and then we see results and we're motivated to continue doing it some more or do it again or just keep doing more of what we've done. So in the sense now of stepping into the identity, what is the identity, right? It's my new year. It's my new moon, my personal new year, this Aries season and my birthday. So what is the identity that I want to lean into? What is the identity that I want to show to the world? What experiences do I want to have that helps me cultivate that identity? And so I realized I have been waiting or putting off embodying the role and life of entrepreneur. I have been practicing it, but I have a job and, under the undercurrent, it's like I was using that as a safety. I've been using that as a safety blanket. So I have been putting off living life as an entrepreneur. I wrote this in my journal several years ago for a different aspect, but it came back, that message. I've been playing dress up, right? And so that's good because it gives us practice. It's like dress rehearsal maybe, but it's like to really make it happen, I have to show up as that badass entrepreneur. I have to show up as the person who is running my own company and supporting myself and generating my own income, 100% supporting me and the lifestyle that I want. And so that's how I'm going to achieve those results, by embodying it now, not simply staying in practice mode, but like, no, this is how my effing life looks like right now, and start showing up as that person. So I've been waiting or putting off embodying that role and waiting to show up and go to work. And it's funny that I put that in quotes because the realization that I had is like, I know what it looks like to show up and go to work as an employee. I know what that looks like because I know what the expectations are of me. I know what it is that I have to do, the tasks or the jobs. And even though I have the freedom and the flexibility to create, to make my own schedule and to work from home 100% of the time, I still knew what it looked like as an employee to show up and what was expected of me. And stepping into the role of entrepreneur, I realized I had to create, or I had to get an idea of what it looks like to show up and go to work as an entrepreneur, as that being my life. And so I got very clear. On what it looks like to go to work as an entrepreneur. I have to be visible, and I have to talk about my products, and I have to share with people what I can help them with and how I can help them, and make doing that a priority as opposed to oh yes, I'm doing that too. It's like, no, that's what I'm doing. And then allowing that shift to happen by showing up and embodying it. So I got very clear on what it looks like, what my days look like, what tasks need to be prioritized, and what needs to be routine so that it becomes habit and it becomes an established part of my business and of my life, and knowing what that looks like. And even though I think I already covered this, but I wrote, even though I have the freedom to set my own hours, my own day, lacking this clarity meant I had no direction for my day. So I had the freedom. I manifested the freedom to schedule my own day. I manifested the freedom to work from home 100% of the time. But it was kind of like just kind of floating around instead of giving my day direction. And another lesson that I wrote was that if you go back to other episodes, I talk about discipline. And I talked about how I thought I needed to make friends with discipline, because discipline was something I resisted for so long. It's like discipline felt like rules to me. And I've even said that. You can go back to prior episodes and hear, that discipline feels like rules. And I was talking about how I need to find a way to make friends with discipline, because knowing that discipline is the thing that leads to the freedom, the complete freedom of, time, money, resources, whatever it is, the freedom to live life the way that I want. And so I had been so focused on, I need to make friends with discipline, and then judging myself and beating myself up when I didn't, and saying, I'm failing at this. I should be further along. The damn shoulds. I should be further along, and just beating myself up. It's like, I know I need to make friends with discipline. Why can't I do it? And so that was not helpful energy. So again, during Aries season and these realizations and stepping into my life as an entrepreneur and embodying that, I had the awareness or the clarity that it's not about discipline, because discipline feels very, and it's not that discipline is not important. So just bear with me while I verbally kind of process this, because I just wrote, discipline is not necessary. And that's not accurate, but that's what I that led to this trail. So instead of making friends with discipline and thinking I have to discipline myself and make friends with it, what I realized was that it's actually about finding the thing I'm passionate about, making that the ultimate priority and the guiding light, because by doing that and finding and doing the thing I'm passionate about, I will do the things that I want to do and that need to be done to move me forward. And the example, when I there's a jumble of words and arrows and crossouts, is like, the example that I shared is right in line with my branding and my messaging. I talk about becoming the rock star of your life and living and creating the life that you want to be living. And so I really honed in on that aspect and thought about a musician or a rock star who is successful. They, whatever, they practice their craft diligently. like they practice their instrument, they have band rehearsal, they improve their skills, they take voice lessons or instrument lessons, and they continue to practice. And that's the discipline. The discipline shows up when you find the thing that you are passionate about, and then you want to practice, you want to improve, you want to get to the next level. And even though it's challenging, you still want to do it. And I'm like, that's this and helping people and speaking and sharing my messages and my stories to help people become that rock star of their lives so that they can create the life that they want to be living, the life you want to be living, not the life that someone else thinks you should be. So I was stuck in that I need to be disciplined and I'm failing as an entrepreneur because I cannot make friends with discipline. It's like, no. And that led to this jumping back into the Lunar Lessons, right? Because I'm passionate about it. And like I've talked about the last, several minutes, letting go of those expectations. It's like that naturally drives me to do the things that I set out for myself, like having these episodes and sharing my products and coaching people. And it's opening up opportunities because now I'm following the passion. And by following the passion, the discipline is embedded or built in because I am passionate and enjoying and following my desire and living my purpose in the capacity that I can right now. Not waiting till I reach a certain level before I feel like I'm living my purpose. Living my purpose right now and letting that lead to the next level. And living and doing the things that I'm passionate about, and that naturally comes. And that is the discipline. So looking back at my track record, I have been showing up and doing lives and sharing information with you guys for 4 or 5 years at least. And here I'm beating myself up for not being disciplined enough. The hell I'm not. I've been disciplined about the things that I love. And now it's simply shifting that focus into, now let me intentionally, what do I want this to do? I want this to help people. I want to share ways that people can incorporate this in their life. I want to reach more and more people with this. So that means I've been disciplined. I've been disciplined in showing up for these lives and then turning it into a podcast. And here I am beating myself up for, I can't make friends with discipline. Well, I was focusing the discipline on the wrong things. And so by making that shift, it's like the discipline is inherent and I want to do the things. And that awareness of like, I know there's going to be challenges, and how can I bring fun into those challenging parts? What fun can I find or intentionally create myself through those boring parts to get me to, to the other side of that? That's how Patty, is like how I establish my discipline, because I follow what I'm passionate about. And if that resonates with you, hallelujah, right on. And if you are someone who actually thrives on having the structure and the discipline up front, then this still works for you. It's like, what are you passionate about and what are you going to fit in those categories, right? The practice or the steps that you're going to take or the habits that you're going to implement by first building the framework. For me, it's following the passion, and that establishes the framework. For others, for you, it might be having that framework first and filling it in with the things that you're passionate about. So see, it's not right or wrong. It's finding what works for you. And that was such a brilliant realization for me. It's like following the passion, and the discipline is inherent in that because I'm doing the things. And then I saw that evidence. I saw the evidence of how disciplined I've been for 4 or 5 years by doing these and consistently showing up. And when I get sick or when I travel or whatever, I come back to it. And I am disciplined about the things I'm passionate about or that are important to me on some level. So hopefully that helps. And there's a couple things I just want to touch on, not lesson related, not like Lunar Lessons, but things that I've talked about in this episode, I talked about following the lunar cycle, setting new moon intentions, and taking action. And this is the framework of becoming, right? That my process is manifesting me becoming that rock star of your life, living the life that you want to be living. And I actually have several ways that you can either jump in or get acquainted, and there's different levels. I have a free Facebook group. It is the Moon Manifesting Rockstars Facebook group. In that group, I do a monthly live that is based on the sun, the zodiac sign where the sun is. So like what that means is we're in Taurus right now. The sun is in Taurus. So everyone who is a Taurus is having birthdays, in the month that the sun is in Taurus. So that's what I mean by the solar season. And this is what you can use to set goals or actions that you're going to take. And so that is a free group, and there's a live every month. And I have been getting very clear working on getting clear on the monthly free activity to do in there as well. It's going to be a monthly challenge or a monthly class, something that will also help you incorporate this in your life. So if you're new or you're not sure or you have questions, that is a great place to start because it recurs every month. I follow the sun, the solar seasons around the zodiac. Now, if you want to then layer the new moons and working with intention and following the lunar cycles, I have this program that I got that clarity on that I told you that I talked about. It's called Manifesting Me with the Moon. And it's a program. And so it's a hybrid program. And this is that clarity that I got from my friend when we were talking. It is, I have recorded lessons for each of the new moons. For each new moon is in a new zodiac sign, and then it follows a cycle like a calendar. It is the zodiac calendar. Aries is the first sign of that zodiac calendar, which we're in right now. But we have a new moon every single month. And so I have 12 lessons in there for the new moon in each of the zodiac signs. And in that program, I also have the different associations that I felt were relevant for each zodiac. So for Aries, for example, it's got the planet that's associated with Aries, the element, the little design, the glyph, like the ram, the chakra that is associated, the goddess, the archangel, and the essential oil. I think that's all of them. And I have all of those associations for every single zodiac sign. So as we work through, then you can work or learn about those different associations. That's the materials part of the program. So once you get the program, you purchase it, you have forever access to those materials and anything that I add, any new materials that I add. Currently, as I'm recording this in May of 2025, May of 2024, I am in the process of adding playlists that for each zodiac sign, right? And so anything that I add, once you get the course, you automatically get it. There's no upgrades to buy. There's no additional cost to you. Once you have it, you get it for forever. And the hybrid part is that for the payment of the course, it's a payment. You can do it either in a payment plan or a one-time payment. And once that, you only pay that once. You either finish off the payment plan or you do the one-time payment. You have ongoing access to monthly coaching. And that I do around the new moon of each new moon. So the new moon in Taurus is coming up on Tuesday. On Monday, I believe it's on Monday, I have to look at the calendar, I'll be having the coaching call for the program and talking about setting intentions. And in the free group, we talk about the solar season. So you can work with them together if you so choose or independently. And then since you have forever access to the coaching, as long as the program lives this way, you can jump in every single month. You can jump in on the coaching calls as you need. If you hit a part, where you're doing well and then you hit some resistance, or you're just like, I fell completely off track and I want to get back on, you have ongoing access to those coaching calls. There's no expiration date. So as long as the program lives this way, you can jump in on those coaching calls down, a year from now, 2 years from now, whatever that looks like for you. And you have forever access also to the materials that you never lose access to. So that's the hybrid. And I'm really excited about it. And so I started that with the Aries new moon because I start things. I start things without a lot of planning. That's how I started this podcast. That's how I started the program. And then I build it with you. And then I really kind of hone what it looks like with you. And that is how I have had success. That's how I've started the things that I've been successful with. I've just started and then learned more along the way and share what I learned with you guys. So that is available as well. And then I have this podcast and my YouTube channel, and I have ebooks and all, different levels of things. So if you have questions, the best way to get them to me is to email me. And the email is vision, VISION, at bluemoonmanifestations.com. All one word, no spaces, no underscores or anything. Vision at bluemoonmanifestations.com. And that is also a great place to send me any topic ideas that you would like me to cover on the podcast. The weekly live on my Facebook page, that is the Manifesting Me show. That's a segment of this podcast as well. And that is live on Wednesdays on my Facebook page. And then it becomes the weekly podcast episode on the podcast platform. So there's lots of places, lots of ways. If you need some help or clarity on any of them, just shoot me an email or put a question in the comments if you're watching this on the YouTube podcast platform, and just let me know what I can help you with, and I will let you know what resource might be a good place for you to head. So this is wrapping up the Lunar Lessons. And like I said, I will be, sometimes I might not be as consistent and sometimes I'll be right on the ball. But I know now that letting go of that expectation means that I can just show up in whatever way is authentic and regardless of whatever's happening. So ideally, it would be every month. And I think that's what I'm going to strive for. But just like I'm exemplifying for you right now, if it doesn't work, I'll just bunch a couple together and keep showing up for you in the way that is real. I'm not making it, fake or anything. So you can see that I ride that wave too. I ride that roller coaster of consistency and inconsistency, and I'm still making progress, right? It's not about being perfect. It's about being intentional and keep sticking with it and getting that clarity and the insight. And I love using the lunar cycle for that. So that's it for this episode of Lunar Lessons. And I will see you guys next time. Take care.